Confident, confident, confident. I can be confident, 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 confident. I can be confident at work.
Hello and welcome to episode 125 of the Confident at Work podcast. I'm your host and your confidence coach, Anna Manning, and it is 2025. Woo! So we had a little podcast hiatus over the Christmas holidays, and we're back. We're back, baby. First thing is that I am teaching a live free masterclass called Grow Your Confidence in 2025. Does what it says on the tin. It's on the 27th of January, 2025. You can sign up, join us live, or get a replay delivered to your inbox. If you listen to the podcast and you like the podcast, come and join us in that class. It is going to do the work that you need to set the foundations for professional confidence in 2025. Click through to the link in the show notes now, sign up and join us. But today, we're talking about pressure. And many of my clients, most of my clients, and maybe you too, are high achieving professionals, used to setting goals, achieving them, succeeding, achieving, etc., etc. And most of them, and maybe you, at least in part, have done that by putting pressure on yourself. Pressure to achieve, pressure to succeed, pressure to improve. Pressure is one of the tactics you've used in your career. However, when it comes to building confidence, real, authentic, in your bones confidence, we have to work the opposite way round. Instead of putting the pressure on in order to achieve something, i.e., confidence, we have to take the pressure off. And that might be counterintuitive. It might be not the way you're usually used to working, not the way you're usually used to achieving something. But if you want to achieve the goal of feeling more confident in 2025, instead of putting the pressure on in order to achieve that goal, you are going to have to take the pressure off. And I know that this might feel a bit weird or maybe even a bit scary, and it possibly will go against ingrained ways of doing things, ingrained ways of thinking. But hang with me, because after coaching professionals on building authentic confidence for the last 6 years, I know a thing or two. So just hang with me. Keep an open mind if you can. And we're going to dive into why you might need to take the pressure off in order to feel more confident at work in 2025 or in whatever year you're listening to this. We're going to explore why pressure doesn't actually help with confidence and what you have to do to shift away from that and onto something else in order to achieve this goal of feeling more confident. We're going to go through a few real life scenarios, and then I've got a bit of a challenge for you. Bit of a coaching challenge, something that you can engage with, something that you can take into your week to see whether or not I'm right. But let's say, first of all, that you have put pressure on yourself to be more confident. And you might have put pressure on yourself to speak up more articulately, to contribute more concisely, to present flawlessly, to deal with seniors with more ease. There may be loads of areas of your professional life where you're like, I need to be more confident. And I'm going to put the pressure on myself to be more confident because that's the way I do things. But it hasn't worked, has it? I'm guessing that it's probably just created more fear, more panic, more worry, more stress. And that is the exact opposite of what we want. They are the things which erode confidence, not the things which build confidence. Every client who I've worked with who actually manages to build authentic confidence figures out at some point, they may fight me on it in the beginning, but they figure out at some point that when they take the pressure off, things start to change. So, why doesn't pressure help you to build confidence? And let me say, it may have helped you effectively to do all kinds of things in your career. There's different ways of motivating people. And one of yours might have been to put pressure on yourself, pressure to achieve, pressure to succeed, pressure to grow, pressure to get a promotion, pressure to do this, that, or the other. And it might have worked. It is one way of doing things. But when it comes to confidence building, it does three things that we want to avoid. So when you put the pressure on, it increases a negative feedback loop. So let's say you're trying to have the confidence to contribute more effectively in your meetings. If you put yourself under pressure to do that, you're like, right, must do better, must be more articulate, must make a good point, must do this, must do that. That's increasing the pressure in order to get the result that you want, which is to contribute more effectively in your meetings or more confidently in your meetings. You see how that's going to work, don't you? You already know the answer here. Obviously, if you're putting extra pressure on yourself in that moment, it's going to trigger a stress reaction, which leads to what? Mind blanking, fuzzy head, overthinking, self doubt, rumination. Being in your head instead of actually being in the meeting might cause you to lose the moment, skip over the point, doing mental gymnastics when you could be following the conversation. It prevents you from being engaged, from being calm, from really trusting in your own expertise. So you might have thought that putting the pressure on yourself to contribute more effectively would work. But it creates a stress response, creates more worry, creates more anxiety. And that, you know this, doesn't help you to contribute more effectively. It makes you contribute less effectively, if at all. So when you put pressure on, it creates this negative feedback loop, this stress cycle, and it makes it harder to do the thing that you're trying to do, especially if you're trying to do something confidently. It can also, and this is number two, but lead to kind of avoidance or burnout. So you put too much pressure on yourself to be confident in a particular situation, and that can feel insurmountable. That can feel like so far away from where you are now that it ends up making you disengage or procrastinate or just avoid instead of face the situation. This also makes sense, right? Because imagine you had a boss that was like, I really need you to be more confident in this situation. I'm going to put you under a lot of pressure in order that you become more confident in this situation. You'd be like, yeah, terrible management style. That's not going to work. Well, same reason it's not going to work for you. And number three, the reason why pressure doesn't work to build confidence is that it keeps you really narrowly focused on the potential for things to go wrong, on like a fear of failure. So when your focus becomes really narrow, and pressure will do this to you, it will focus and narrow into avoiding mistakes rather than achieving the outcome that you actually want. So it will make you think, I've got to be perfect, got to get it right, got to be timed appropriately, got to be totally articulate. Avoid mistakes at all costs. If you make any mistakes, they're going to think you're terrible. They're going to think you're rubbish at your job. They're going to think you shouldn't be here. All pressure does is funnel you into that negative, that fear of making a mistake. And I don't know about you, but that's not when I'm feeling at my most confident. It's not when my brain's like, you must do this right at all costs, but you're probably going to fail. When I'm at my most confident, those parts of my mind are pretty quiet. When the pressure's ramping up, you will notice that this fear of failure and mistake avoidance becomes something that you need to do. And a lot of people find themselves either avoiding at that point or over preparing to death, over scripting, over trying, over proving. None of those things will lead to you feeling more confident. They will lead to you feeling the exact opposite. So let's say you're with me and you're like, okay, well, maybe I can't put loads of pressure on myself to build my confidence. Maybe that isn't the right technique. maybe it hasn't actually been working that effectively so far. So, all right, Anna, fine. What do I do? Well, my experience working with people is that you have to make a conscious shift away from putting pressure on yourself towards something else. Taking off the pressure is what I'm going to recommend. And I've got 3 things that I think might help. The first is to adopt a kind of low stakes mindset. By that, I mean, if there's an area at work, let's say public speaking, where you want to be more confident, you want to build your confidence, see each attempt as an experiment. Lower the stakes in your mind. So, right now, the stakes might be this stake is so high. If I don't do this presentation and absolutely nail it perfectly, I'm going to lose my job. Now, you may be in a situation where that's true. If that is true, good luck building your confidence. You probably can't. I would recommend that you come to me for hypnosis or something else that's going to completely knock out how you're feeling. Anyway, that's an aside. But if you can, if it's available to you, see the next time you're going to be doing public speaking as, okay, well, this is just one of my attempts. I'm going to go in with a low stakes mindset. I'm going to remind myself, if it's true and if those thoughts are available to me, that actually, do you know what? It probably isn't life or death. Probably my job isn't riding on it. And even if I make a shoddy attempt, well, everyone's probably going to have forgotten about it in a couple of days. So instead of focusing on aiming for flawless presentation, think of it as putting in the practice rather than like the grand slam game. I don't know why I keep doing tennis analogies at the moment. I know nothing about tennis, but imagine you just showing up for tennis practice. Okay, some people might be on the side and they might judge you a bit, but it's practice. So if you can adopt a lower stakes mindset. My second idea is focus on progress. So once you've changed and adopted this low stakes mindset, if you can, the pressure's kind of off, you can then focus on progress. Okay, so maybe in this presentation, I messed up 2 things, but maybe I did deliver 3 pretty well. Even managed a little joke. There was one part where people were really engaged and they were asking questions. Okay, that's great. When we've got loads of pressure on, we will have a white hot light focused on everything that didn't go right or everything that might go wrong. When we take the pressure off, we're actually able to assess our performance in a fair way. You know, like you would want anybody else to, like you would want your boss to, like you would if it was anybody else who you were helping to improve something or develop their confidence in. And during that fair assessment, you're actually able to notice areas of progress and be like, yeah, that went a bit better. You can look at it with data rather than drama when the pressure is off. My third idea is to just practice managing yourself really well. So if you're a frequent listener to the podcast, you know that good self-management is part of a high confidence cycle. So I want you to think about, for whatever area you want to build your professional confidence, how would you support a direct report or someone that you were managing in that situation? What would you be saying to them before? How would you be supporting them during? What would you be saying to them after? Would you be saying to them, hey, mistakes are part of the process, but you can learn from them? Would you be saying, come on, I believe in you, you can do this? Would you be saying, it's not life or death, just go in there and have a good time? What would you be saying to somebody if you were really helping them to learn and to grow and to build their confidence? Because you can bet that it's different than what you've been saying to yourself. Would you be piling the pressure on them, or would you be attempting to take some of the pressure off? I think you instinctively know, the same as I do, that I'd be trying to take the pressure off rather than put it on. So I'm going to suggest that you could do that for yourself. Be the best boss you've ever had, maybe the best boss you've never had. Before I go in and do something now, I'm like, come on, Anna, you can do this. I believe in you. And for the rare occasion, which is pretty rare now, that I actually start to feel nervous or worried about something, I will come in like my best boss and say, I don't care if you fall flat on your face, Hannah. I'm going to be there to pick you up afterwards, and I will never be disappointed with you. I'm always going to say, well done. And even if something goes wrong, I'm not going to beat you up for it. I'm going to tell you that you can do better next time, and that you will do better next time, and that you'll improve, and that it's just part of the process. I actually do that to myself now in real life. I actually talk it out loud if nobody's there, and you wouldn't believe the difference that it makes. The pressure that it takes off me enables me to have so much more confidence. When the pressure's on, we create a stress response. When we create a stress response, we're flooded with adrenaline and cortisol and the other things that come along with stress responses. When that happens, we breathe shallow. We really narrowly focus on the thing that we think is dangerous. Maybe our hands get sweaty. Maybe our face goes red. We lose some of our mental faculties. When the pressure's off, even if you're in a challenging situation, even if you're in a situation that makes you feel a little bit nervous, when the pressure's off, your body is more relaxed. You're more present. You're more engaged with the moment and the people who are around you. You can breathe more deeply. You can contribute without getting all in your head. You can follow the conversation. You can see where things are moving. You can respond to people's points. You can connect. When the pressure's off, your mind's clearer. You have more headspace and your body's more relaxed. And when you're more present and you're more engaged in the moment, you can breathe more easily. And when you're breathing more easily, you're getting all the oxygen that beautiful brain needs. Your mind's clearer. And you might even notice how easy it can be to contribute when you've got something to say. How natural it is to speak with seniors. And how fine you can feel when you're presenting. When the pressure's off, it will get you the result that you want. You will do things more effectively, more easily, with more flow, with better articulation, and with more confidence. Everyone's greatest fear is that if they take the pressure off, they'll be rubbish. But my experience is that when you put the pressure on and you ramp it up, you're more likely to be rubbish. But when you take the pressure off, you fear that you'll be rubbish. But in reality, it's much better. You're much better. You can be clear. You can be calm. You can rely on your expertise. You can trust what you know. You can come in at the right moment. You can add an argument. You can de-escalate someone else's argument. You can present your points. You can trust yourself. There's nothing to prove. You're just there, present, engaged. Maybe you'd even find that you enjoy the things that you didn't enjoy before. Maybe you'd even find that you like your job. Maybe you'd even find, as many of my clients have before, you know what? They actually really like running trainings for people. They used to think they hated it. Turns out they love it. They just hated the pressure that they were under. When they take the pressure off, they can actually enjoy their job, which is pretty sweet. And guess what happens when they take the pressure off and then they enjoy their job? They notice their confidence grows. And so would yours. So I said I have a little challenge for you, and I do. And this is just a little experiment, no pressure. But I want you to think of one place at work where you'd like to feel more confident. You'd like to be more confident. You'd like to do something differently. An area where you've tended, or maybe you've been putting yourself under a bit of pressure to do that. You've been putting yourself under pressure to, be better, be less, be more, be this, be that. and maybe it hasn't really been working that well. This week, could you try and see what happens, just as an experiment, when you take the pressure off? When you lower the stakes in your mind and just notice, how did it feel and what did you learn? And remember, if you want to feel more confident at work, you need to take the pressure off. And if this episode resonated with you, take the challenge and just see what happens. And if you want to share it with me, you're very welcome. I always love hearing from you. Again, if you haven't booked to come to the class Confident at Work in 2025, go to the show notes now, click the link, sign up, and either come and be with us live or get the replay in your inbox. Let's set you up for a Confident 2025. See you in next week's episode. Bye.
Confidence, confidence, confident. I can be confident. Confidence, confidence, confident. I can be confident at work.